All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you so much, sir, for being here today. This is our masterclass at Miva, specifically focused on public policy and administration. And we are so grateful to have Mr. Andrew David Adejo, the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, here with us today. In his over 34 years of working as a civil servant, Mr. Adejo has worked in different government agencies, including the Federal Department of Forestry, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and as a special assistant on infrastructure and energy. He has also worked with international development partners, including the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. Mr. Adejo possesses a degree from the University of Jos, as well as an MS in Pulp Science from the University of Maiduguri. Mr. Adejo's civil service career has taken him across several fields of public administration through the ranks of Federal Permanent Secretary. We are so honored to have you here to deliver a masterclass at NUDA. Thank you so much.
It's also my honor to be here and a privilege for me to be here. And it's just that at least you can give me the benefit of knowing only your name at least. I mean, everybody here knows my name, so I can talk to the first person.
Definitely. Okay. You are an honored guest, so the introduction must begin with you. My name is Enekeme Umo. I'm the Vice President of Operations here at Miva University.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions, of course, for you, and then the students who are joining us online and those who are here with us will also have some questions. So we'll just go through it, just have a conversation.
No problem.
All right, wonderful. So to start us off, I'm always curious to know, did you always want to be a civil servant, especially given what you studied in undergrad and in your MSc?
Honestly, I never wanted to be a civil servant. I wanted to be a lecturer. After my first degree, specifically, I wanted to be a geneticist. After my first degree, I finished my youth service. My university gave me the position of a graduate assistant. And that was in 1988. And that is when the country started having issues financially. And as at then, civil servants were more comfortable in terms of pay than the lecturers. I am from a family of about 10. I'm the first child. So I decided that it would be unfair for me to go into lecturing but have academic pursuit because my father used to be in the army and he was one of those that were just thrown out of job due to one policy or the other. So I felt as the first child my responsibility that I can't continue in lecturing because it's sacrificial as then, not now, as lecturing is no longer, I'm sorry to say. So that is what brought me to civil service. I'm a total person, but when I got into civil service, I made up my mind, I'm going to stay in service until I'm 55, then I'll find my way out. But, God, man proposes and God laughs at us.
And here you are, 34 years into civil service.
Almost 35, by December, I'll be 35 years in service now. Wow. So that's the story. So yes, I didn't set out in life to know.
Well, so since you've been in it, even though you didn't set out to be, I'd be really curious to know what are some of the core principles that underscore public service and governance in general, and maybe specific to Nigeria as well.
I'll take it from two levels in terms of what are the core principles and how are we applying those core principles. The first thing for a civil servant is that he must be impartial in any judgment. irrespective of what the situation is, you must show impartiality. You must realize that civil service is stewardship, is the service, and that's how it was construed from the days of, because the Chinese gave us what we know today as the civil service. They had the building blocks of the civil service. So you know you are giving stewardship. Then you must also embrace transparency. You must be honest, either to yourself or your subordinates as well as your principals. You also have to be professional in your job, whatever you do. And that is why, for me, as scientists, doing administrative functions. Then I think the most important one is that you have to be accountable. Accountable because it's a service. So you need to let the people you are supposed to deliver those services know how you are doing it, why you are doing it, even if you don't like it, you have to tell them. So I think broadly speaking, those are the things, the principles you have to hold on to as a civil servant.
Okay. So you had mentioned how the economy and the landscape of Nigeria in general changed from when you were younger to even now. I'm curious, in your years of public service, how have the roles and expectations of a public civil servant evolved over time?
First, if you want to look at the evolution of roles and expectations of the servant over time, we'll go back a little to, well, I won't go to pre-colonial, but take it from colonial, the independence. The role of a civil servant has always been the same. Providing guidance to government in developing policies for effective delivery of services. If you look at all our constitution from 62 now, there's something it says that you have to provide services to the people in this and that. So the role of the civil service is to make sure that whatever policy has been put in place by the government of the day, whether it's military, whether it's political, your role is to make that policy live to people. You understand? So the rules has never changed. But what has changed is the expectation. And the expectation has changed because of dynamics of economics or social, or what they call political economy. Why the expectation has changed is first, it is expected from independence until the economy started talking that as a civil servant, you need a conducive atmosphere to to do your functions, to perform your work. And one of those is that you are assured of a house, you are assured of a living wage, and you get to a stage you are assured of flags or whatever. And that was why immediately the colonialists left. You discovered that top civil servants were staying in what they call European quarters. A civil servant was never bothered about living, feeding, all those things. So it attends to, but little by little, especially after the Murtala Purge, where you had to take out civil servants, core, dedicated, that did their work without thinking of how my tomorrow is, because his tomorrow is that short. They were all pushed out. So the people following said, if this can happen, I have to take care of my tomorrow. So it started changing the mindset of those people that are now getting to top positions. And that's, for me, the reaction to that purge that was ordinarily supposed to be cleansing started putting the building blocks for corruption in service. Because, take it or leave it, we work for two things: to satisfy ourselves. And in satisfying ourselves, we have to be sure that you leave school, you graduate, you should be able to get a job, and you get a job, you should be able to go to the market, buy food and stuff. So that expectation started changing for the civil servants, and that affected their behavior. But the good thing is that somehow God adjusts the system, or system adjusts itself. The civil servants started developing mechanisms that it's not going to be corrupt, but it's going to be, how do I call it now? It's going to live sustainably. And that's led to reduced quality of service delivery. I'll give an example. The federal government, by our constitution, is not supposed to be directly involved in the implementation of certain things. Now, our responsibility as federal government in civil services to provide policy guidelines for operation of any sector and to monitor the implementation of those policy guidelines by the states. But you discover that because the dysfunctionality permeated the system, if the federal government just do the policy and see that, the states will never implement it. So the federal government now got into direct implementation. And that led to the establishment of various ministerial departments or agencies, if you will, parastatals.
Yeah.
And in doing that, those parastatals basically took off functions that should have been done by state governments and were directly implementing it, and because the state government completely abdicated that responsibility. So I think those are some of the things I think I've done with the role of a civil servant has never changed. It's only the fact that because of the expectations of a civil servant who is no longer guaranteed of a comfortable life, either when working and after work, that has led to some tinkering of the roles of the civil servants.
I understand. To the accountability and the trust.
Transparency, yes. That is why, for instance, especially in the political era, the politician comes. I'll talk specifically for education. I want to university in my village. What a civil servant does is, what population do you have that can attend that university? How accessible could it be? What are the possibilities of expansion? Many considerations start to determine. And if it doesn't look great, he says, okay, no, this university can't be established. Then what happens today? National Assembly passes a legislation, XYZ university established, college, blah, blah, blah. And it comes down to the ministry. If the permanent secretary is not strong to say, no, this cannot do, the pressure will be so much that you say, okay, go and establish the university. By the end of the day, you sink a lot of government resources there that should have been used better somewhere else. And people don't need to school there for whatever reason. So those are some of the things that one could say is the dysfunction in the system.
I'm so glad that you made the segue into education, because that's the next line of questions is I would like to dive into. So I think all of us here really would love to know about the key educational policy trends and innovations that the federal government is currently focused on.
Okay, thank you. First, you look at the transition of policy formulation in the education sector. Before 1969, or let me put it, before 1977, there was no policy on education nationally. So by 1969, there was what we call a National Curriculum Conference. And that conference came up as a result of the fact that people in the education sector then felt that the curriculum being used in school is not appropriate for national development. So they gathered the seminar of experts in 1973, which led to the national policy in 77, revised 88, 99, 98, with the last one being 2004. And the key thrust of that policy was aligned with our national goals. And the key thing of our national goals as at then in the first, second, third, and fourth national development plan was to have a Nigeria where we live in unity, that means population, self-nation under God, God is democratic, started coming in the 1999. So the trust there had been further captured in our constitution. If you look at chapter 2, the one that talks of fundamental, objective, and directive principles of state policy, section 18 states that government free education at primary level and finally recorded in 1976, Obasanjo did universal primary education. So first there's universal primary education, there's free education for Nigerians at all levels. That's what the policy is. So as it is today, whether in primary, secondary, tertiary, no Nigerian is expected to pay tuition fee for education. And education was needed at the tertiary level, every government funded. I remember when my first 2 years in school, I think with 50 naira I was having fantastic breakfasts, another 50 naira lunch. 50 kobo, sorry. 50 kobo. So with 150, I think it was 40, it was naira now then. Was feeding for my month. So my parents, once they give me, they buy the ticket for me. I don't use more than 2. The 011, at times I can be 010. So I sell the tickets. No, quite. I sell the tickets, especially on Sundays when we have all, so education, Nigeria had been free until the economy showed up. And when the economy showed up, and let me say political economy showed up, in 84, I remember, we all went on strike. Babangida decided to remove, I can't remember when it stopped. So that was sad. I don't know whether it stopped today or what, but he stopped the feeding. So he brought in private caterers to provide feeding. So you go to the cafe and stuff like that.
At the universities?
Yes.
Okay.
So but eventually, because the caterers are business people, they are not into social services, refusing calls, and by the end of the day, that and also cost of maintaining university started increasing. So universities started introducing one service charge or the other, pay for fuel, pay for food. But in terms of, like I said, so from then till now, the policy has been for the federal government to provide free education. As a matter of fact, it has been running with a vision to create an economic model for the country that provides opportunity for every Nigerian to achieve what they can achieve. Over time, different administrations pull out their own policy to guide education, but it has never deviated from those basic principles. The last set of administration for the 2 terms the state ran on what we call ministerial strategic plan, 2016 to 2019 and 2020 to 2024. And those plan was accorded on what we call 3 major objectives. One is to increase access to education. 2 is to improve the quality of education. And 3 is to strengthen the systems for delivering education. Within that, those 3 key objectives ran through what they call 10 pillars then, from out of school children to basic and secondary education, to science, technology, engineering and mathematics, technical, vocational education and training, tertiary education, curriculum development, education planning and information services, integration of ICT into education and all. When this decision came in, the Minister of Education, Tahir Mamman, is an educationist, and his Minister of State decided that no, we need a roadmap. That the problem with all this former sectoral policy and all that, there is no practicality to it. And you don't go to school because you want to say I went to school. You go to school because you want to work, so to say. And in working, you are contributing to national development. But today, we have close to 75% of people that went to school outside of that work. So the focus that we need to focus on employability to make sure that Nigerian universities train what we need. So we set up a committee that has come up with a report. That report was subjected to stakeholder engagement on October 19th at Abuja Sheraton, I think it's called International Hotel. And it came up with 13 core issues to focus on. Still dealing with the other tech and included entrepreneurship and included tease out girls' education from part of school children. So we now looked at those criteria and said, look, it's not going to be safe thinking you want to carry the problem of the world at once on your head. So we are working towards this is not happening local here. We're having a retreat for key education players in Uyo between November 30th and 2nd. So we want to focus on only 4 critical areas.
Out of that 13.
Yes. And because if you want to take it a thing at once, or the pushing line, it's not going to be. So the first is out of school children. And out of school children also include girls' child education. The second is employability of our graduates. The third is technical education. That is to be able to make sure that we have curricula that uses the German model of education. Yes, from primary school. These things have to be done. So, what is the fourth now? Of course, the fourth is teacher training. Because the honest truth is that we don't have teachers in quantity and in quality. For the past 15, 20 years, everybody that goes into teaching profession goes into it as a last choice. And immediately they get an option, they leave. So we want to bring that commitment to teaching. There are a number of incentives that we put in place. So I think those are the 4 focus we want to push out of process. Of course, that does not mean other things will not be done, but the things we want to now say yes by within the next 2 years. And you discover that once you deal with that, the other little things like curriculum, we are going to be reviewing it, but it's not introduction of modern language and all those things will join because there's already a national policy of the use of mother tongue in our junior schools and secondary.
Okay. So amongst the things that may join that, would you consider the student loan program? And can you speak a bit about that?
The student loans fund is already running. What I mean running is that what is delaying it is we don't want to run into the problem previous loans funds have been running into. And that is people collect them and they don't pay and they disappear. So it's no longer revolting.
Yeah.
So that's why we are working the central bank, the chief of staff office is leading that. The initial plan we had in education was to roll it out in October. And we said, look, we have a bursary system already, scholarship system. Let's just use whatever principles is there for 1 year so that we can come out in October when schools are resumed. And say, there will be too much leakage. For the bursary, for the scholarship, we've not witnessed up to 1% leakage. So if we use those same principles and you just give us the money. The money don't banks, some of these things don't play out as we. So hopefully by January, at least that's the minister statement from the chief of staff. The student loans fund will kick off. But it's not going to be an all-comers affair. For instance, my child cannot benefit from it.
There's policy against.
Yes, because you see what happened before is even till now, it's not like anything I used to fight and I fought in my ministry. I'm not too successful. We give scholarship to people to go and do studies overseas. And you discover that most of the people benefiting are children of permanent secretaries, ministers. They should be able to train their children.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to do is, and that was one of the flag we have, and we have changed that report. We need information on your parents' status. What are your parents doing? Once that information is in, there will be a cross-referencing with the university, students affairs department. So it's those kind of connections. And for instance, you must have gotten admission. Not first year admission, you must have gotten admission to get into school. We'll cross-check with JAM. It's that interconnectivity because JAM already has a system that is very secure. So we need to connect it with the system that is being developed, and we all know what computers are these days. We can hack anything. So those are the things they are guarding against, because for now that JAM system is invalid. If you now introduce the student loans fund, it's exposing the system to more threats. So the student loans fund is on, and you recall the money allocated for it was small, and in the supplementary projects, because the National Assembly had to take money out of somewhere and say no, instead of buying the story of the yacht, which was wrongly presented in the press anyway, that should be added to the student loans for 5 billion.
Right. I think this would be a good time for us. We want to make sure that our learners also get the opportunity to ask you questions. So if you have any questions from the audience here. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Jerusalem. I'm an academic course content developer around policy administration.
Sorry.
Well, my name is Emmanuel Jerusalem, and I'm an academic course content developer here at University. So, my question is centered around innovation.
Around?
Innovation.
Innovation.
So, when you look at the dynamics of education, two things that we have done a lot. I think there are so many things that we can do. With giving the emphasis of the new public management approach to public planning, I feel like our public universities are also civic institutions, and I feel like we are doing things differently. Exactly what we're trying to do at the Welcome University. So, how do you think we can blend more in lines between technological equipment and learning? Those are our public institutions in Nigeria. And what's the government doing? What's just like she asked the other time, what's sort of innovation the government are implementing as far as police concerned?
Thank you. Why take it one on one? But fine. It's a bit of the innovation. I will take it from first the public services of university. Innovation has become something that we can get at what we call the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan. Each ministry has been active. We now have reform coordination and service improvement departments in all ministries. And each ministry has been asked to set up the innovation vision. For the past 3 years, we've been holding competitions for civil servants on innovation. What we want them is to bring up innovative ideas. For instance, that will ease the workflow of normal civil servants. And in doing that, at least we're able to get some good innovations that we are testing. One of them was managing the pool system of vehicles they've done manually before, but now, and these are not civil servants. In one, we see version for proof. So they developed a software that can be used to monitor vehicle movement. Why that cannot be pushed further is because of the cost benefits. Now, federal governments don't have too many official vehicles. So if you put in 10 naira into something that's going to look at 5 naira, you are wasting resources. So that's what we don't. Another one that was very striking was for waste conversion. And right now, what the head of services doing is helping the lady that developed it to look for investors to buy into her idea. So on the civil service level, we are serious with regulation. On the national level, if you see, one problem I see we have in Nigeria is we always want to do what the other person is doing because it's making money. I challenged the polytechnic sector when I first came. I said, look, in other climes, so what you do with your hand in terms of technology gives you more comfort than what just professionals do. But you are using pursuing that polytechnic is one you are awarding degrees. You should pursue the fact that as a polytechnic, you can think out a product, link up with a private investor that will sell these things out. The opportunities are there. I'm sorry to say, our tertiary institutions are no longer doing research. I can't sit down here and come and tell you want to do research on I'll use science that white glycolic acid is a growth inhibitor or a growth. What am I going to do with that? Do a research to show that if I use glycolic acid, I'm going to increase my productivity by or something. So this, that is not useful. We should move away from. So that is what the government is doing. Is that we're encouraging universities to get grants from overseas anywhere, both local. And I think the third fund has, which is what they call third fair, is the third fund for it's got to do, I've forgotten the name, for innovation and research. It's something they do competitively. I don't know the full term. So universities, you get a group of researchers, you can do innovation, they are going to fund it. So the resources there, and I think at the in-between level or across all board, there's this Israeli firm along Airport Road. Again, I've forgotten the name. They are training people, this is skill we have. They are training Nigerians that have good innovation. They train them, it's just like a boot camp. When they do their training, they identify people and they are training them for innovation. So I had the personal experience with somebody who said that's where the problem is. We are not truthful. This young man came with fantastic program. I really wanted personal investments. He's from somewhere, he's an Abuja citizen. And he was in the news for some time back. So I now selected my team, we got him. And he said this is his problem, we need to get certification from one student for X amount. We paid the money for the certification. And I said, okay, you are from Abuja, your village, that's your setup is you agreed. So that means I'm not going to pay for land. Your land is your father's, so what I'm going to pay for is to do an assessment and we have to go into a partnership. I'll be responsible for funding, you have the technical grade. But because it's so young, you cannot manage, you look for money. We agreed. When he now came to put in Naira to Kobo, the first thing he threw at me was that he needed to buy a land for 5 million Naira. In Roboshi, that's your village. So that just puts me off as this person is not serious. And you see, that is what puts, that is what is the market, but the market in Nigeria is somehow good. I remember for a time, if you watch your advertisements, you see a lot of South Africans doing local adverts. You know what happened then? Nigeria, the actor, saw those people involved in that. They were charging dollar for naira rates. And the business people can't, yeah, what the hell? I can get this cheaper. So that is why you notice that Nigerian faces gradually started disappearing from our adverts. And the South Africans can come and they give you the same thing now. You understand? So some of the time we are not truthful. The dollar has gone gaga. You go to the market. No, there's this market. So you go to the market to buy Gary, you mount dollar going so that you understand. So those are the things that influence our innovation. If you have a sincere heart to make that something, I guarantee you, there are Nigerians that are ready to support innovation. But when you are doing the innovation, you see somebody to help you, the first thing that comes to your mind is you want to first make some money. No, some of these things require a lot of sacrifice. By the grace of God, if you hear my personal story, you will not think I will be in service till now. I have people that went through the same thing and they just left. So the government is serious about innovation, and as the ministry, is unfortunately that will stay long, but I know that as the ministry, that is what they want. This minister now is coming from the private sector, even if he was with this of one of the universities. So he understands the rush and the innovations.
Okay,
I hope I've tried to answer part.
my second question. So, what do you think about reducing papers? Reducing the use of papers in our offices, in public
Digitalization.
digital
Yes.
storing.
One of the policies of this is like all offices should become digitalized. The office of the head of service is digitalized. I started an experiment with digitalization in my ministry. The problem is the service provider I got gave us a solution that is not going to meet. What he did was we call it the touch dog. And for touch dog, touch dog is an electronic data government management system. And for you to do digitalization, you need an electronic content management system. So by the time we brought the touch dog and gave displayers, and my people were going to know, I said, no, I'm an above average computer user. So if I have difficulty in leaving my work environment to go and work outside, then transfer doesn't work. So what we are doing now is we are exploring the Laserfish technology. Laserfish is an electronic content management system that will help in digitalization. Ministry of Transportation is almost digitalized now. The water resources is trying. We started something, we are going back because all these ministries are involved, their staff strength is less than 40% of my staff strength. So in airports alone. So the civil services is providing our work processes.
We have some questions from the online audience.
You know that,
So I'll just give them to you one at a time.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is, what were the key considerations in terms of policy development put in place by the government for the student loan scheme?
Foremost, the student loan scheme did not come as a policy decision. It came straight as an act of national identity. When the president took office was the Speaker of the House of Rep, he pushed for the bill that was made into an act. And on June 12th, it was the symbolic day where I was with the president to sign. That was when it was signed. Now, the key considerations in the act are these are: one, every Nigerian students that wants to get a loan will get a loan. 2, there must be a governance structure to guide the loan. There must be conditions to be satisfied before you can benefit from the loan. One of the things that happened when the idea first came out is what people were seeing outside was the bill that was submitted to National Assembly. As I speak to you today, the act is not in the public domain. Because when we look at it, from the reaction to the bill, as government, we got some body now as there, we need to revise this act, which is already ongoing. And one of the things we prepared to do, because initially what was there was not to do with the payments. And we looked at it that this payment period cannot be feasible because it was then looking at payment after graduation. So the reason is after graduation, you don't have a job. So what do? So we are taking that to link the payment to getting a job. And we are also looking for a strategy or a means that is acceptable to the beneficiary. In making sure that when you get a job from the one you started paying, there is no breathing space from the one you started paying to percentages and all those things that I'm sure when the new act comes out, it will answer most of those questions.
Okay, so this is kind of on the thread of that. How will the policy be communicated to the public, and how will it actually be enforced? And are there any incentives that are put into place to ensure compliance, particularly with repayment?
Well, I think it's not put incentive to ensure compliance. We put in a consequence management system.
Carrot at sticks.
You understand? And what that is first, before the loan comes up, once it becomes operational, there's, for such things, there's always a communication strategy to that company. And that communication strategy will deal, even the national orientation, and we like I said, the team working on it is looking at communication strategy. And the act will also contain consequence management to make sure that if you take a loan, you repay. Because your guarantors will go beyond you. Your guarantors, people that will sign off that you are a student, includes your university.
I see.
I don't know yet, but they are putting something that you cannot get the original copy of your certificate until you finish paying your loan. But there are things like that. I don't know what will come up yet.
Okay.
Those are things that have been looked at.
That's good. So this is another question from the audience. So, and it ties to this concern about jobs after you graduate. So how are we trying to train directly to solve the economic problem? So the person gave an example. Will we engineer our curriculum, for example, to solve the problem of food insecurity?
You see, if first, like I said, that we are trying to make sure that what people learn in school from primary to university is what we need to prepare. We got a practical kids that everybody gives the nationality. The fact that language has to hire almost 10,000 artisans to come and work in primary because content engineers do simple things, styling, training, and all this stuff. So these are things that from primary sector, and you know the idea of basic education up to GS2 is that by the time you finish your GS, if for whatever reason you cannot afford to go to senior secondary school, you have already learned a skill that makes you some skill that you can go and become a welder or something. So that is what the curriculum review for junior secondary school have reviewed. It's the senior secondary school that we're working on now. And the National Secondary School Education Commission did a draft, but they are yet to check it, send it. So that will take care of employability to some extent in terms of making sure that we train people for the economy, specifically for food security. I don't think we need any special training on that. I say that because first, we know most of the problems. Most of our farmers are small scale farmers, less than 1 hectare. Most products they produce, they bring out perish because of lack of storage. So what do we need to do? The ones we even produce, let's learn how to process them first. And I don't think we need the training to process. What we need is resources. Resources first to increase our farming sites, areas, their researches. Recently, the Minister of the tries to tell us they developed the high yielding wheat variety that they are going to plant somewhere in Jigawa also on 25 hectares of land. A small scale farmer cannot do 25 hectares if he doesn't have support. And so for food security, I think what we are doing is to move more into mechanized farming. Right? I will move into more mechanized farming and have resources. If the bag of fertilizer, I think it's FGK, costs about 25,000 to 30,000. That's a month. If you need to see again, what's introducing. So for me, you talk about mining soil fertility development big farms. So what it does is rotational farming because it doesn't have enough and the organic method of soil is what is becoming difficult now because the clash between herders and farmers, the cattle that drops down so far and down. If you don't feed your so people are coming, I think it's really that to focus on for agri. And I think what they should have started agri is not to cook food and farm produce. No, it's the business venture. And should be taking as like and by taking that to business. Which government is doing that they need to show more honesty in that I'm sorry, I'm standing for me, I'm very prayer. The alcohol scheme was fantastic. But the people running it is not have the capacity to do it. The central bank, as it is now with the anchor borrowers, there are very few pluses you can see. And a lot of money. So I think with a little jig, we will be able to, and what the government is doing in food security now is to provide some. So I'm going to say I don't need any more training to improve us. The return for us, do what's supposed to do. Provide the right equipment to people that are supposed to get, not to my brother, who will collect it around US. And you come to me, I'll harass you because I'm palm sex, you can't do anything. Do that. That's me.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I'm just cognizant of the time that we have. I just want to ask this one last question from our online audience. In terms of civil reform, how do we ensure more innovative and experienced person gets the job done beyond ranks?
Thank you. You know, the civil service involves more talent management, which is one of the criteria. And for somebody like me, maybe because I'm not there, so people say, right, I've never indicated. I've never indicated because I remember as young as 11, sign up. I'm very young in private. I was leading the church in office. When I became a church officer, I was made the program manager of the component for the administrative technical system management. So, to me, I understand that the civil service has a structure to realize, not to put in the best in the best. But the problem depends on the person, his attitudinal. For instance, I was the lieutenant officer giving instructions to 12 and 13 in the UNDP program because when you move there, your rank becomes automated. I never felt possible to my superiors. You understand? So because of that, I was ready, even when I'm even giving them directive to show that it's for Oga Beg, are you going to help me with this one? Before I send the memo to them, Oga Beg, see you know, send a risk like this one, pricing. You know what I'm saying? And I had that experience. I even became the national coordinator level 14. I had level 16, deputy director, working on them. So what the service is doing now, we have two sets of a set of scholars. One is called the Peace Scholars. Go round is done by competition. You understand? It's a leadership enhancement and advancement program for the that's what it's called EP. These scholars are after declared asked to, and they are sent to different ministries to work for 6 months. While they are, depends on their output, the armed service mission they are sent to division departments where they can contribute. Then the IDMOS Foundation is seriously supporting the services. We have what we call AIT scholars. Every year is a consultative process. So long as you're in the civil service, every year it trains some Nigerians. Fortunately, I'm a mentor to one now. We just joined last time this year. The one that shall be my second. So they go for a 1-year program with Lavagis in Oxford. It's with Lavagis government. So we train those people. They come back to service. They've gotten some. They will not place them in offices that are strategic. Encourage them. These are not. How do I say it now? These are not. You don't use the normal. What I mean normal is in civil service. If you want to go for training, is an entitlement mentality. Not to get anything here, but to get night allowance and go to. That's why you are doing a training, start in Abuja here. Then you do a training in, like it called that national allowance. You're not doing training in my area by calling national allowance. That's not for you. So for all those months now, like what the civil service have done is that can do a training in Abuja and pay you night allowance, but 50% of it. So you can come from your house and 50%. So we have the talent management system because we have a policy now on leadership management and succession plan. You understand? Well, we discovered that between people that are now levels 15 to 17, especially 16 and 17, felt terribly shortchanged in the system. So they don't have any spawning, they don't have any desire to help. Their own is, let me join, kill and go. So we are concentrating on some of the 15s because you can grow up in a muddy environment without being influenced by the mud. Right? This is some of my experience. When I tell people I grew up in Adejo, they said, no, there's nothing like I was a farmer born in Adejo, that about see when people call it a papa, I just find me. You understand? And like I always say, some of these things is depend on what do you want. Right? So anywhere you are, whether civil service, public service, private sector, it's what drives you that shows how, because nothing will always be good. We just take the good of it and keep working. So that's what I needed to say about the vision, the talents, the leadership management and succession plan. We are grooming deliberately grooming those people. That's why some of us that they think we are fair, we are mentoring people. So that by the next group of people 14 to 15, we are going to get people that at least will keep this. If not, because if your civil service is not good, there's no way the country will get nowhere. I keep saying if you keep somebody in charge of the 20 billion naira project line and the salary is 300 and something, not that now. We see. So you know it's true, give him the opportunities, give him the contract. It's only the contract over. Obviously the contract in the give, you know. Because if he's comfortable, he's fine, he's get the job done at home.
Thank you so much, sir. The way you just ended this last question, I almost didn't want to ask the wrap-up question, but I'll ask it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our first cohort of learners here with us at Miva. You know what we're doing, pioneering in the education space. Is there any advice that you would give to the learners who are joining us online, learners who are here in person, as regards education, continuous education? Any final thoughts?
Like the advice I give is that forget what you see, nothing beats learned mind. Nothing beats that. Still today, I still read. So you must love reading. Don't worry, it's not giving you benefits in your mind, but you have knowledge. But you are not getting knowledge because you want to be very grammar. You are getting knowledge because you want to see how you can improve yourself, impact your society. And one thing that has helped me, which I keep telling people, don't compete with anybody. Compete with yourself.
Yes.
My standard has always been 110%. Anything like it. It's myself. Should I manage yourself on myself? I compete with myself. And as learners, if you never miss if you are a reader. I should tell people, even if you don't get a job immediately when you finish your degree, or even when you reach a degree, you can write books. I started writing books when I was in secondary school. Unfortunately, I get myself involved in too many things that I never completed anymore. But I still have the manuscript. Still, my rough handwriting, even when I now retire, I'll get there here, my father's. I'll take them out and write. When I bet if you work very hard, you learn from older people. In terms of some people that have documented their experiences, you learn from them. Struggles and the rest is have an unshakable faith in God. Unshakable, not in your pastor, not in your imam. No. Because I just have an unshakable faith in God. Anything you see that happens to you, like I said, you know like this to you in my midst. Don't let it get to you. Yeah, as a human being, you feel it. But the question you ask yourself is, why am I not getting the alternative? What am I learning from this? As a young man, Dr. Ash, people remember him as a consultant. When he contacted HIV/AIDS, people were telling him, why is this happening to you? And he said, when good things was happening to me, I didn't ask why. Now that bad things is happening, I asked why. I said, no, I want to learn from what this is. I wish you all the best. May you have your heart desire if you saw the good of humanity.
Thank you so much.